So from a sort of a property perspective, I'll go back to Kiyosaki a moment. He's, as I said, he's a very well-respected figure, and I think I've spoken to a lot of property people over the years, and myself, I think, included as well. In that, you look at Kiyosaki and you think, well, he's done precious metals, property, and he started businesses. That's pretty much the three strands of what he does. Therefore, if I do those things, I could end up as wealthy as he is. So what you're saying is actually that's not true, because you can do those three things, but only if you absolutely love them and are passionate about them. But if you're not, and you do those three things, it's not going to happen.
Well, it could, but there's no guarantee.
Right.
It could happen, but you could still get yourself entrapped in something that isn't really your passion.
Yeah, and so but outside of Kiyosaki, everyone knows Kiyosaki, but I'm just interested to know if there's any other examples or any other people that you've come across in the property world who have maybe worked with yourself and made a transition from thoughts and feelings into using intuition and having an effect from that point of view.
In fact, I do have a close friend in Byron Bay.
Okay.
Who is quite a reasonably sized player in the commercial property development arena.
Right.
And when he was just working from his conditioning, he had this amazing ability to make millions of dollars.
Okay.
But he also had this amazing ability to lose millions of dollars. Probably sounds familiar.
Ringing bells.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing was that what he believed he needed to do to rectify that problem was to spend more time in his business. Yeah. And the more time he spent in his business, the worse things got.
Because it's an obvious thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Spend more, if it's not working, work harder.
That's right, exactly. So there's a problem, this is a solution, the logical solution.
The logical solution, yeah.
And whereas once he started developing his intuition started to reveal to him what it is that he really loved. And it said, yes, you do love property and you do love investments and you do love your business, but you also love your wife. You also love your children. You also love living in Byron and enjoying the Byron lifestyle, and you love being healthy. And so what he started to do, instead of just being consumed by his business and denying all of the other things that he loved. I mean, doesn't that also happen when people get consumed in their businesses or their property and they lose their wives, they lose their families?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the great thing, is that intuition isn't just about a tool that you can use in one area of your life. It impacts everything. It's a very holistic thing. So what happened is that he started, because he's been trained in listening to the Ring of Truth as well. And as you say, it's similar to my story, it kind of sounds counterintuitive.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, if he puts his focus over here and lets go of his business, it's bound to go.
Yeah.
But what happened, because he didn't abandon his business.
No.
He just wasn't consumed by it. And so he started enjoying his life. And enjoying his beautiful wife, his children. He started to learn how to surf. I mean, if anyone knows Byron Bay in Australia, it's one of the most beautiful places for surfing.
There once, yeah,
it's one of the surfing meccas of Australia. And he's getting healthier because his health was suffering as well, because he was getting so stressed and just focused on his business, he wasn't exercising. Anyway, as you say, miraculously, he starts embracing the whole of his life and the whole of what he loves. Out of the blue, a fund manager comes in and invests $100 million into his business.
No way.
Yeah. And he wasn't in negotiations with them prior to that. Obviously, he had a relationship with them.
Sure.
But it was just like, how did that happen? and it's because, like, we joke about how that it happened, but we know how it happened because there's a specific technology, creative technology that he has learnt to employ, that I teach, that puts that in place, that sets that magic up. And so as much as it was fantastic, it wasn't really a surprise. If that might sound a bit flippant.
I'd love to have a non-surprise like that.
I was saying that to a friend of mine here the other week, who's in a similar situation where he's just thought he's done all these courses where he just get all these properties, buy to let properties, and he's just so geared up, and it's just like an albatross around his neck. And he heard that story and he said, I think I'm just going to go surfing. Check my bank account when I get home.
See what's happened. That's a beautiful story, because that's what I was saying before. Really, is that the what you teach is, and this is now from my own experience, because I was actually in a similar position a year ago, or 18 months ago. I was, the business wasn't going great, and I was just pedaling harder, and my health was suffering, and family life was suffering, and I wouldn't say it's perfect now, but it's definitely on that track, But it goes back to what I was saying before. It's very simple, it's very powerful, and it's very tangible. The results that you get, and just a little bit more maybe about other realms of life, because we have just talked really about investing and business and stuff. But presumably, if you have access to your intuition, which is inbuilt in all of us anyway, and you recognise the ring of truth when it turns up, presumably you can apply that to anything.
Absolutely.
Big and small, presumably.
Big and small.
So, for example, relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else is there? Business,
relationships, health.
Health, yes.
And just like true vocations as well.
Yeah.
I can go through some 3 examples in each of those areas.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah.
What was the first one? Relationships.
Relationships, yeah.
When you say relationships, immediately you think of intimate, sensual, sexual relationships. But one that immediately comes to mind is a woman that did some work with me a few years ago in Australia. She was in her mid-30s, grew up, never knew her father, and just grew up with her mother. They divorced when she was very young. And when she started to get in touch through her intuition of what she really loved, remember I said that's the motivation of intuition?
Yes.
What she would really love was to find her father. And her mother was absolutely against it. But it's, this is the thing, is that once you get the ring of truth, it also gives you some real inner fortitude as well, and not to be swayed. Similar to what I was in my story with the property story.
Yes,
you get this inner fortitude that comes with the ring of truth. And she, regardless of all the circumstances and her mother objecting, she pursued it. And in a very short time, she found him. Like, on that alone would have been, I was like, you just think that's impossible. But that was just the beginning. In her forming a relationship with her father, her intuition also told her that what she would love is to reintroduce her mother and her father together again, to reconcile or whatever.
Sounds risky.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
Just like moving your family to the UK and putting the money into a booming market, for instance. But in doing that, she followed again her intuition. Not only did her parents come together and reconcile, they ended up falling in love again and remarried. Isn't that just extraordinary? It just brings tears to my eyes. Yeah. So there's a great relationship one.
That's cool.
And that's one of many that I could tell you.
Sure.